Hello, BookTube. Sorry for the odd lighting and for the odd upload moment, but I've had a very frustrating last hour trying to get technology to work in order to make a Manatee Monday with my old friend Deb for Valentine's Day. We knew you'd like that, and it would be a lot of fun, but we could not get the technology to work. And I didn't want to become so incensed with technology in general. It's sort of that get right back up on the horse type thing. So I thought I'd turn on technology that has worked for me today and make another video. Unfortunately, there's fodder for that because we have mail. And I didn't do mail earlier today. So we'll go through some mail just so that we're talking and I'm calming down. It's very important that I calm down. So let's do this first package here. It is taped to a fare thee well. So I'm assuming it's not from a publisher. Publishers never do this. They slap on just the bare minimum that they need. Whereas I don't have scissors anywhere near me. And so there's a chance that this first one will be a dud. That not only is the technology failing me, but that even raw physics is failing. I might not be able to get this open. I guess we can go straight on to another package. Oh no, all right. You've got to be kidding me. All right, I got through one layer. I got through one layer of this package. We have another layer. So let's get through that. Okay. Okay. What have we got there? Oh my, look at that. All right, well, this is from one of you. No note that I can see unless it's in the packaging that I had to completely destroy down to the molecular level in order to get the package open. But this is a book that I mentioned on this channel. I mentioned that I didn't have it. Did one of you buy this for me? You people are so nice. This is Yankee Bookseller by Charles Goodspeed. I mentioned I did a Library of the Lost. I'm doing a library tour of all of my books. And when I was up in Vermont for 2 weeks, I did books that I don't have anymore, that I had once upon a time and don't have anymore. And this is one of them. This is the reminiscences of a Boston bookseller who ran Goodspeed's bookstore forever and ever and then gave it to his son to run. I told stories about Goodspeed's when I was doing that Library of the Lost, but I mentioned that the copy that I had was in such terrible shape that I couldn't keep it. And here it is. It doesn't have a dust jacket, but it's in perfect condition. Okay, well, I had to destroy the package down to the subatomic level in order to get this open. So I don't know if there are going to be enough fragments of it left for me to know who sent this. If so, I will try to find them. But if you're watching, thank you so much. This means more than you think. Charles Goodspeed's son meant more to me than you think. So let's see. Let's do this one next. This is a big, one of these big flat cardboard boxes. Oh my. Okay. Is this not? Yeah, this is nonfiction from W.W. Norton, one of my favorite publishers. And this comes out in July. It's single-digit cold here in Boston today. With snow on the ground. It actually snowed more than was predicted. I took the bean out late last night, and it was almost blizzard conditions, where every forecast had said that the snow would be long since over by then, and that it would be falling lightly even if it was falling. Nope. The snow got a decided second wind, and it's all over the place today because it's been bitterly cold all day long. But it's impossible even to really gripe about that because the temperature is slated to just go straight up all week, just like last week. Just like last week, we will be ascending into the mid-60s Fahrenheit in the middle of winter. So these cold snaps, I can take them if they're guaranteed. Tomorrow's going to be twice as hot as today. There's going to be twice as much warmth in the air at this time tomorrow, and twice that the next day. So, but how did I get on that subject? Well, July, yes, because this book is coming out in July, even though it's about freezing cold weather. This is by David Roberts, and it is Into the Great Darkness: Peril and Survival on the Greenland Ice Cap. Wow. So I don't have a sheet. Oh, yes, I do. I do have a sheet on this. All right, good. So let's see what this is. Let's see here. The riveting story of one of the greatest but least known sagas in the history of exploration from the Dean of Adventure Writing, that is David Roberts. By 1930, no place in the world was less well explored than Greenland. The native Inuit had occupied the relatively accessible west coast for centuries. The east coast, however, was another story. In August of 1930, Henry George Watkins, nicknamed Gino, a 23-year-old explorer, led 13 scientists and explorers on an ambitious journey to the east coast of Greenland and its vast and forbidding interior. Their mission? Chart and survey a region and establish a permanent meteorological base 8,000 feet high on the ice cap. That plan turned into an epic survival ordeal when August Courtauld, manning the station solo through the winter, became entombed by drifting snow. The work draws on first-hand accounts and rich archival materials to tell the story of this daring expedition and of the ingenious young explorer at its helm. Sadly, David Roberts passed away in 2021. Good Lord, the author died. But not before this veteran mountain climber and chronicler of adventures was able to complete this last remarkable story. Wow. Okay, well, so this comes out in July. I have a long way to go. I'm curious to know, what was that? That was the Henry George Watkins expedition across Greenland in 1930. I know nothing about this subject. Do any of you? I haven't looked at the obviously I just opened this. I haven't looked at the book at all. But do any of you, especially from closer to that area of the world, know of previous narrative histories of that expedition? I'm curious to know if this is really well known, really well talked about, really well written up. I don't know anything about it. I'm curious now to know if nicknamed Gino ate his dogs. That's, of course, the first Steve thing that comes to mind. There are many other questions of mine as well. Wow, that's going to be weird. That's going to be weird to read in July. Greenland's ice cap is all but gone and won't be coming back. So that's kind of strange to see it in that light. Then we've got boxes. We've got more boxes here. And I'm realizing now, I immediately turned the camera on to diffuse what would otherwise, I sensed, have been an increasing spiral of just rage at technology. And so I didn't prepare myself. I would have had scissors here. I would be ready for these packages. So I'm worried that I won't be able to get one of these boxes open. Okay, this next one is from Oxford University Press. That's great. I don't get enough books from Oxford. I don't have a sheet on this at all, but this is by Ina Ona Johnson, and it's called Faustian Bargain, the Soviet-German Partnership and the Origins of the Second World War. Faustian Bargain, the Germans and the Soviets teaming up. When Nazi Germany invaded Poland on September 1st, 1939, launching World War II, its military might was literally overwhelming. The Luftwaffe bombed towns and cities across the country. 50 divisions of the Wehrmacht crossed the border. Yet only 2 decades earlier, at the end of World War I, Germany had been an utterly and abjectly defeated military power. Foreign troops occupied its industrial heartland, and the Treaty of Versailles had reduced its vaunted army to a fraction of its size, banning it from developing new military technologies. When Hitler came to power in 1933, these strictures were still in effect. By 1939, however, he had at his disposal the fighting force of 4.2 million men armed with the most advanced weapons in the world. How could this seemingly miraculous turnaround have happened? As the author establishes beyond question in Faustian Bargain, the answer lies in Soviet Russia. Beginning in the years immediately after the First World War and continuing for more than a decade, the German military and the Soviet Union, despite having been bitter enemies, entered into a partnership designed to overturn the order in Europe. Centering on economic and military cooperation, the arrangement led to the establishment of a network of military bases and industrial facilities on Soviet soil, away from the oversight established by Versailles. Through these alliances, which continued for over a decade, Germany gained the space to rebuild its army. I immediately want to ask David Murphy. I think that I've never read a book that put that emphasis on those facilities. I've always been led to think they were nominal. In return, the Soviet Union received vital military, technological, and economic assistance. Well, that would be traceable, right? All three of those things would be traceable and quantifiable. Both became military powers capable of mass destruction, one that was eventually directed against the other. Okay, so Ian Ona Johnson is the P.J. Moran Family Assistant Professor of Military History at the University of Notre Dame. His work has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, the National Interest, and the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. among others. Okay. His work has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, the National Interest, and the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. Okay, that is our author. So he's as young as David Murphy. If we grant him the benefit of the doubt here and say that he looked at these sources and thought, there's a story here that hasn't been told with the emphasis I want to tell, which is, of course, the whole heart and soul, the heart and the pumping muscles of making new history. That is the glory of the genre of history, is historians looking at archives and saying exactly that. I'm reading these and I see an emphasis here that no one else has really struck. I think that this story needs to be told in this way. If we grant this author the benefit of the doubt and say that, then this becomes immediately fascinating. If there was a flow of military, economic, and social currency from Germany to the Soviet Union for 10 years, if there were established and extensive military bases, German military bases on Soviet soil, that would be a fascinating read. If we don't grant the author the benefit of the doubt, since, for instance, just to take one example, I'm not up on the National Interest, but the Wall Street Journal has an excellent book section. Their book section is amazing, one of the best in any newspaper in the world, in the English-speaking world. But their op-ed section, the op-ed section of the Wall Street Journal, routinely runs articles that would not have been out of place in Nazi newspapers in 1940. The op-ed section of the Wall Street Journal is almost unmitigatedly pure, objective evil. So, if we look at a book like this and we ask, okay, what if we don't grant the author the benefit of the doubt? What would be the ideological reason? Not the historical, not the archival reason. What would be the ideological reason for writing a book like this? And it starts to get a little icky, if that's true. As an old friend of mine used to put it, it starts to get a little icky, if that's true. It's certainly one ideological upshot of a book like this would be to decrease the net evil of Nazi Germany. I don't have a sheet on it, so I don't know when it comes out. It's a finished copy, so it might be really soon. I'm going to have to read up on it. I'll get a date on it, and I will read the book. But I'm curious to know. I'm curious to ask David Murphy what's going on, what he thinks of that. It doesn't jive with my own impressions from the innumerable World War II books that I've read, but you never know. All right, so let's move on to the next box. Boy, you really pay for it. The fates make you pay when you don't prepare. This also was packaged against nuclear war. Let's see what we have here. Oh, okay. Greystone Books. This comes out in May. This is called Reading the Water. Fly Fishing, Fatherhood, and Finding Strength in Nature by Mark Hume. A unique and radiant memoir about fatherhood, mortality, fly fishing, and nature. Fishing was Mark Hume's passion since he was a young boy, a lifeline through a childhood marked by impermanence. When he became a father, he knew he wanted to pass on his love of fishing and the natural world to his daughters. Most of all, he wanted to give them hope for their future, even as they were growing up during an ever-worsening climate crisis. As soon as they were old enough, Mark taught his girls how to read the water and see the patterns in nature. He showed them how to cast, how to catch fish and release them, and, only when needed, how to kill them. It's never needed. So maybe he never showed them that. He discovered that the fly fishing and fatherhood required many of the same skills: patience, flexibility, and a knowledge of when to reel in and when to let go. Illuminating and heartfelt, Reading the Water is a much-needed positive story about fathers raising daughters and a meditation on finding faith in a deep connection with the natural world. Okay, that sounds really good. Except for the fly fishing part. You already know what I think about that. You put a barbed hook on the end of a line, specifically in order to trick an animal who's going about its day. It impales its mouth on that barbed hook, and in a frantic attempt to get away from the pain and horror that you are inducing in the animal, it pulls the line taut, and then it's just a question of you holding out until the animal, in pain, in panic, in a total collapse of its world. It suddenly is so exhausted that it can't fight anymore, and slowly you start to overcome its resistance to being killed long enough to drag it right up to you. And then, if you have the strength of your convictions, you club it to death and eat it, I guess. You are never more than half an hour away from abundant food. That's bad enough. Even worse than that for me is to do all that and then let the fish go. So that the whole point of the thing was just the torture. It's not even the small amount of unnecessary excess food that you're getting, which I guess could be used by some to partially justify this barbaric practice. It's not even that. You're not even doing that. The whole point of what you're doing is just to torture the animal. Wasn't that fun? Well, that hook got in really good. Of course, you cut the line. You don't remove the hook. So the fish has pain in its mouth for the rest of its life. That part, of course, I don't agree with. What was that business? What was it that he wanted to pass on to his daughters? A love of the natural world. Most of all, he wanted to give them hope for the future. Okay, well, you can take them out and show them the natural world. You can even go through the motions of fishing if you want, but don't put any barbed metal at the end of your line. Just put food at the end of your line so they can see the patterns of nature. They can see which fish come to the food and which don't, and how soon and where, and what kinds of fish in what depths of water. They can see all that without you trying to kill the thing, or disfigure it, or torture it for half an hour. He's fighting. This one's putting up a fight. Yeah, because you've got a hook in his mouth and you're trying to kill him. What kind of a fight would you put up under those circumstances? It's not the only way you make this a so-called sport is if you just assume beyond a shadow of a doubt one of two things. Either A, that the fish can't feel the pain, which you have to dismiss right away, because if it couldn't feel the pain, it wouldn't fight. And B, that whether or not it feels the pain is immaterial because it's not human. There are plenty of ways for this father to teach his daughters about the wonders of nature without trying to kill parts of it. But I have read, despite the fact that those thoughts are always on my mind when this barbaric practice comes up, I've read many, many books about fishing that bring out the best writing in their authors, and quite a few things on that are making a connection like this between fishing and family, a love of the natural world. Quite a few books like that really, really do a good job. So despite the fact that I fundamentally disagree with this. This is just speciesism. That's all. That's all it is. It's the only reason you think this is acceptable is because it's not being done to a human. And, except for the dozen or so people every year who throw back their fly and hook one of their relatives. Earl, don't cast. Aside from them, this is the only way you can justify this. Is the same way that you would justify going out into the woods on a perfectly normal, beautiful spring day with the intention of shooting a deer. The only reason that you could call that entertaining or a sport is because the victim is not human. The victim can't say to you, "Hey, could you not kill my mother?" Who is the author that I'm introducing here? I might as well tell you that. An award-winning environmental journalist and author of 4 books, including the acclaimed River of the Angry Moon. Well, that does ring a bell. I wonder if I read that. He was formerly a national correspondent and columnist with the Globe and Mail, BC bureau chief for the National Post, and a senior correspondent for the Vancouver Sun. Based in Vancouver, he has fly fished in British Columbia for 50 years. Good Lord. Okay, so this is an extremely established and practiced writer. So this could be really good reading experience. No matter what kind of a fettle I might get into about its subject matter. And then we have the last box here, and it also is just taped to a fare-thee well, just battened down as if it were going by Pony Express. So are we going to be able to open this thing or not? I guess that's been the drama all along here. Will this thing come quietly? Oh, it has a note, so it's definitely from one of you. Oh, it's from Todd Oval. It's from BookTube's own Todd Oval. How wonderful. Well, that's good to know, even if I don't actually manage to get the package open. See, if I have to do this, then you've overpacked your package, and everyone today has done that. So if it looks like a wild animal got at it, then you've overpacked it. Let's see, we're still not done. Let's see what we get into when we get all the way to the bottom here. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. This can't be happening. This can't be happening. Oh, I don't believe it. What a coincidence. Okay, my stories about Charles Goodspeed and his son must really have struck a chord because Todd found a copy of Yankee Bookseller. so, so in one mail haul, I got 2 copies of Yankee Bookseller. How incredible! How incredible! What nice people I know through this channel. Just unbelievably nice. Oh, well, all right, Todd, if you're watching, I got your gift, and this is amazing. I got both these copies of Yankee Bookseller, so that is how we'll start the Steve Pyramid. 2 copies of the book. I had none before today. How wonderful. Then Reading the Water by Mark Hume. Man teaches the joys of fly fishing to his daughters. Faustian Bargain, the Soviet-German partnership and the origins of the Second World War. And Into the Great Emptiness by the late David Roberts, about trekking across the Greenland ice cap 100 years ago. So that is the mail. We have 3 new books and 2 copies of the same old book. How wonderful. Oh, man, that just warms me up. Not literally, because it's freezing cold, but metaphorically it does. So well, it's all downhill from here. I'm very glad now that I decided to do this mail haul. It has put a smile on my face where I had a scowl before. So I'll wrap this up while I'm ahead of the game. I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.